Welcome everyone. So far on the topic reactions of aldehydes and ketones, we have learned about the nucleophilic addition reaction, oxidation reaction, reduction reaction, and some miscellaneous reactions which includes aldol condensation, Cannizzaro reactions, etc. etc. Okay. So today's video lecture we will be focusing on some name reactions which are important for entrance examinations like NEET or JEE, etc. Okay, so let's begin. On the list, the first is the Wittig reaction. So before we dive into the Wittig reaction, I would like to explain some topics. Okay, so first one is the ylide. So what are ylides? So ylides are the species with opposite formal charges on adjacent atom. Okay, so this species over here is the phosphorus ylide. Since the carbon atom is doubly bonded to a phosphorus atom, so it is a phosphorus ylide since it is bonded to a phosphorus atom. Now, as you can see in this compound, the carbon atom bears a negative charge, a partial negative charge, whereas a phosphorus atom bears a partial positive charge. So why is it carbon bears a negative charge? As we have seen in the carbonyl compound, okay, in the carbonyl compound, the carbon atom bears a positive charge and oxygen atom bears a negative charge. But in case of ylides, the carbon atoms bears a negative charge, quite contrary to that one of the carbonyl compounds. Why is it so? The same principle also governs the charge separation, that is electronegativity. We can see over here that carbon has an electronegativity of 2.5 whereas phosphorus has 2.2. So carbon is more electronegative than phosphorus atom. As a result, the pi bonded electrons are withdrawn by carbon atom. So carbon atom withdraws the pi electron towards itself and thus becomes partially negative, leaving phosphorus partially positive. So although we drew the ylide above with a double bond between carbon and phosphorus, it has an important resonance form. So this ylide has a resonance form, this one, okay, with a positive charge on phosphorus and a negative charge on carbon. So here we can see that this double bond is being this double bond is we are breaking this double bond, and since carbon is more electronegative, so we are giving the bonded pair of electrons to the carbon atom, leaving phosphorus atom positive. Okay, so this one is the resonance form for the ylide, and here this carbon atom is nucleophilic in nature. Okay, now these ylides are known as Wittig reagents, and these ylides take part in the Wittig reaction. Okay, so these ylides are the Wittig reagent. Now we will discuss about their formation. So the Wittig reagent, that is the ylide, is prepared by a reaction of trialkyl or triaryl phosphine. Okay, so PR3. Okay, if R is a alkyl group, then it is known as trialkyl phosphine, and PAR3, that is AR represents aryl group, that is aromatic group. So if PAR3, then it is known as triaryl phosphine. So the Wittig reagent is prepared by the reaction of trialkyl or triaryl phosphine, usually the latter. That means triaryl phosphine is used in most of the cases. With an alkyl halide, generally a primary alkyl halide or alkyl sulfonate, as secondary alkyl halides do not work quite well in ether solution. So we are using trialkyl phosphine or triaryl phosphine with an alkyl halide, that is a primary alkyl halide or alkyl sulfonate. Okay, we will not use secondary alkyl halides. So why we will not use secondary alkyl halides? So if we look into the reaction, that is the reaction of trialkyl phosphine or triaryl phosphine with alkyl halides, we can see that this reaction is a bimolecular nucleophilic substitution. That is, it is a SN2 reaction, and we know that in SN2 reaction the reactivity of the alkyl halides follows the order 1 degree, 2 degree and 3 degree. Why why this SN2 reaction follow this kind of order? It is simply because of the steric factor. So more crowded the electropositive, more crowded the electrophilic center carbon, the less tendency it will have towards SN2 reaction. So if we look over here, primary alkyl halides are less sterically hindered as compared to the secondary alkyl halides. So primary alkyl halide will have higher reactivity compared to secondary alkyl halides in SN2 reaction. Okay, if it was SN1 reaction, then the trend would have been tertiary alkyl halide, then secondary alkyl halide, then primary alkyl halide. This one is for SN1 reaction. Okay, that is unimolecular nucleophilic substitution, and primary alkyl halide followed by secondary, then tertiary. This one trend is for bimolecular nucleophilic substitution. Okay, so phosphorus with its lone pair of electrons will go and attack the electrophilic carbon, and bromide ion will leave. Okay, so we get this phosphonium salt. Now the carbon hydrogen bond adjacent to the phosphorus is relatively acidic and can be deprotonated with strong base to give the halide. So now over here we can see that this carbon phosphorus bond. Okay, so this alpha carbon has two hydrogen atoms. Okay, now these hydrogen atoms are acidic in nature. As you can see over here is that these two hydrogen atoms are relatively acidic in nature. So why is it so? Why these hydrogen atoms are acidic? It is simply because that phosphorus here bears a positive charge. Although we know that electronegativity of phosphorus is less as compared to carbon, but that is of neutral phosphorus atom. Here the phosphorus atom is bearing a positive charge, so its electronegativity is increased. Okay, so that is why it withdraws electron from the carbon atom, and thus leading these protons and thus these protons are becoming acidic in nature. So any strong base, okay, these protons are relatively weak. These protons are relatively weakly acidic. Okay, it is not uh, very strong acidic proton. It is relatively weak. That is why we have to use strong base over. We cannot use weak base. We have to use strong base, as these protons are relatively weak. Okay, that is weakly acidic in nature. So we are using a strong base here. We are using butyl lithium. So what it will do, it will abstract a proton, leaving this carbon negatively charged. Okay, that is, we are getting one carbon ion. Now you can see over here, this is the resonance form of the halide. Okay, this form, okay, resonance form of the halide. Now this negative charge over here can undergo resonance with phosphorus atom. As we know that phosphorus shows hypervalency. And now what do you mean by hypervalency? So some atoms, okay, go beyond their valency. That is, phosphorus have valency of 3, but it can show valency of 5. That is, it is going beyond its normal valency. So that is hypervalency. So phosphorus shows valency of 5. So here we can see that in this form the phosphorus atom has valency of 5. Okay, so this negative charge can go over and delocalize to form carbon phosphorus double bond. So this is the halide. Okay, now this Wittig reaction, Sir Wittig got Nobel Prize because of this reaction in 1979 along with the father of hydroboration, H.C. Brown. Okay, this Wittig reaction is an organic chemical reaction wherein an aldehyde or ketone is reacted with a Wittig reagent, that is the halide, that is, its name is general name alkylidene triphenyl phosphorane. Okay, that is a triphenyl phosphonium halide. So what it gives, this reaction yields an alkene along with triphenyl phosphonium oxide. So here you got your carbonyl compound and this is your Wittig reagent, that is the halide. Now this halide undergoes Wittig reaction with this carbonyl compound to give you an alkene and a triphenyl phosphonium or triphenyl phosphine oxide. Now note that this carbonyl compound can be aldehyde or ketone but not esters. Okay, so in short you can see that if you want to get the Wittig product, okay, in short you just eliminate triphenyl phosphine oxide over here. We know that phosphorus has a very good affinity for oxygen atom, so this reaction takes place, okay, giving us this alkene as the product. Okay, you can see over here you just eliminate triphenyl phosphine oxide and the remaining portion you will get an alkene. So now looking into the mechanism part. So the Wittig reagent has nucleophilic carbon center. Okay, so the nucleophilic carbon center can attack over the can attack on the electrophilic carbonyl carbon. Okay, so it will go and attack the electrophilic carbonyl carbon and the pi electrons will be moved towards oxygen atom. So we are getting this butane structure. Okay, this structure is called butane. Okay, now this oxygen has negative charge over here and phosphorus have positive charge and phosphorus show hypervalency. Okay, so the oxygen can attack the phosphorus atom. Now this oxygen atom will attack the phosphorus atom and what we will get is oxaphosphetane. Okay, this compound is known as oxaphosphetane compound. Now it will break to give triphenyl phosphine oxide and an alkene, that is, it is a 2+2 reverse cycloaddition. Okay, you just eliminate triphenyl phosphine oxide, and what you will get is an alkene. Now let us look some examples over here. Okay, so this is an ylide. Okay, so how to get your product, that is the final product? You just eliminate triphenyl phosphine and the remaining portion over here will be your product. Okay, you see, just this ylide has 3 carbon atoms, 1 2 3. In the product you are getting 1 2 3 carbon atoms. Also note that this carbon 1, okay, is doubly bonded to phosphorus. So here also this carbon 1 should be doubly bonded to the carbonyl carbon. Okay, similarly this benzaldehyde, you can see, you just eliminate this triphenyl phosphine. So what you will get is this one, this product. Okay, now there's one question over here. So if we want to synthesize this alkene, okay, so which route we have to follow? Is it route number 1 or is it route number 2? So now we look over here. First of all, we have to generate this ylide. Okay, then this ylide will undergo Wittig reaction with the carbonyl compound. So first we have to generate the ylide. So we see over here is that this is a secondary alkyl halide and this one is a primary alkyl halide. Okay, so this secondary alkyl halide will be reluctant to undergo SN2 reaction, whereas this primary alkyl halide will easily undergo SN2 reaction. Okay, so point number 1, SN2 reaction. Next we see that here we are using relatively, means it is not weak also, it is not strong also, that strong also. Okay, it is just above average, that is sodium hydroxide. It is not that strong, but it is above average. Okay, whereas this butyl lithium is very strong base. Okay, so number 2 we see the nature of base over here. Okay, okay, so first of all SN2 reaction and second the nature of base. So for the preparation of ylide we have to use primary alkyl halide, that is this one, and for the abstraction of proton we have to use strong base. So both the factors are favors the route 2. Okay, so the answer will be route 2. That means route 2 is the route 2 is a more efficient way. Okay, so which route is more efficient? Route 2 is more efficient. Okay, sorry, this will not be route 1. Okay, so route 2 is more efficient. This route 1 will not be efficient since here we are using secondary alkyl halide. Okay, secondary alkyl halide and a above average base, but here we are using primary alkyl halide and strong base which are more efficient. So here route 2 is more efficient to make this alkene. Now moving on to Knoevenagel reaction. In Knoevenagel reaction, the active group, the active species taking part in this reaction are the active methylene compounds. So what do you mean by the active methylene compounds? So an active methylene compound is a compound that has the following general formula. That means this formula. Okay, so why it is known as active methylene compound? See here, methylene, so methylene, Methylene. Okay, methylene means CH2 group is known as methylene group. So if we look over here in this general formula, we have a CH2 group. Okay, that means we have methylene group, and this compound is methylene compound. Okay, but why is it active? How we can make it active? So active methylene compounds are those compounds in which this LHS and RHS have electron withdrawing group. Okay, if you see the compound here, this E1 and E2, okay, the substituents should be electron withdrawing in nature. So what it will do is that, so if we see over here, okay, as for example this one, this carbonyl has electron withdrawing nature, so it will make these protons, that is the methylene protons, acidic. Okay, that means the methylene protons will be highly acidic due to the electron withdrawing nature of the carbonyl group. That means the if we give any base, then this acidic protons gets deprotonated and generates a carbon ion over the methylene group, and now this will become the active species for undergoing the Knoevenagel reaction. So that is why it is this type of compound is known as active methylene compounds. Okay, if we look over here, this one also, these are the ester group and it has electron withdrawing nature. Similarly here over nitro group, here nitrile, okay, and these two have carbonyl groups. So these are these are few active methylene compounds. Okay, here E1 and E2 are electron withdrawing in nature. Okay, E1 and E2 have electron withdrawing nature, that is E1 and E2 are electron withdrawing groups, and the electron withdrawing nature here is occurring through resonance. Okay, see here, the electron withdrawing group must withdraw electrons through resonance. Okay, only through resonance. If it is through inductive effect, then the methylene protons are not that much acidic. So to make this methylene protons acidic, that is to make the methylene group acidic, we have to use to make the methylene group active, we have to use the electron withdrawing group which withdraws electron via resonance. Okay, so if we look over here, so this is the active methylene group. If we give piperidim as base, then through its lone pair, nitrogen will abstract this proton, and thus we will get the enolate form over here. Now this enolate form is resonance stabilized. Okay, if we look over here, that nitrogen takes the proton, then proton gives its bond to form the carbon-carbon double bond, and the pi electron is withdrawn by oxygen. So oxygen bears a negative charge and there is a carbon-carbon double bond. Then oxygen backfires the negative charge and we get a carbon anion over here. Then this carbon anion is delocalized. This carbon anion delocalizes its negative charge on the second ester group by the formation of enolate ion. Okay. So the conjugate base of an active methylene compound is highly resonance stabilized. So we can see from here is that it has three resonating structure. So it is highly resonance stabilized. Okay, that means highly resonance stabilized, that means is that the negative ion here, the negative carbon ion formed will have a very less tendency to take up the proton, it lost sorry the negative the carbanion will have a very less tendency to take up those protons which it has lost to the which it has lose to the piperidine molecule. So the conjugate base is highly resonance stabilized. So consequently, active methylene compounds are highly acidic. Okay, since the conjugate base is highly stabilized, so the compound will be highly acidic. That is, the active methylene protons will be highly acidic and can be deprotonated irreversibly here. You see that irreversibly. Why irreversibly? Because the carbanion is highly stabilized here, so it has a very less tendency to take up the protons. So that is why the abstraction of proton is irreversible in nature. Okay, here we can use common strong bases. Okay, so now we look into the Knoevenagel reaction. So condensation of aldehydes and ketones with compounds having active methylene group in the presence of basic catalyst to form alpha beta unsaturated compounds is known as Knoevenagel reaction. The basic catalyst may be ammonia or its derivatives. So we can see over here, this one is the active methylene compound, this is the aldehyde, and this is the base. So what we get is the alpha beta unsaturated carbonyl compound. So these are the carbonyl compounds. This carbon is alpha and this one is beta. So alpha beta unsaturated carbonyl compounds. Okay. So we give a active methylene group, then an aldehyde and a base. So what we will get is alpha beta unsaturated carbonyl compound. So now we look into the mechanism portion over here. So we have seen this one. So this is the active species. Okay, this is the active species in the Knoevenagel reaction. That is, after the abstraction of this acidic proton by the base, we get the carbanion, or you can say the enolate ion. Now this carbanion or the enolate ion will go and will go and attack the carbonyl carbon. Okay, and you will get this one as the intermediate. Okay, now this oxygen will have a negative charge over here and it will take proton from the protonated base. See, look over here. This piperidine first of all takes the proton and becomes N plus. Okay, that is, nitrogen has here tetravalency. So always it has a tendency to lose this proton. So oxygen will take up this proton only from the protonated piperidine base. Okay. So now this becomes OH. Okay. Previously it was O minus. Now it has become OH. Now the piperidine base will take this proton. Okay. Since this alpha carbon, that is the methylene carbon, has acidic protons. So now the second proton is taken by this another molecule of base, or the same base you can say, and we are getting over here a double bond. That is, this hydrogen will get deprotonated. As a result, here we will get a carbanion, and now this carbanion forms a carbon-carbon double bond, and this OH leaves as H2O molecule. So what we get is a double bond over here. Okay. So we can see in the mechanism that we need an active methylene group. Okay. If it is CH, okay, then this will not undergo Knoevenagel reaction. We require two acidic protons. So first one is deprotonated to give us the enolate ion, which will go and attack the carbonyl group, and second proton is abstracted by the base to give us the alpha beta unsaturated compound. Okay, so if you want to write this one, this Knoevenagel reaction in short, then you just simply look the aldehyde. Okay, so now here you just this substitute this oxygen with this carbon, that is the alpha carbon. Okay, you just see here, just take the carbonyl compound and substitute oxygen with this active methylene compound. Okay, see over here, you just replace this oxygen with this active methylene compound. Okay, with the alpha carbon. See, this one is this one only, the carbonyl portion, and instead of oxygen you just link it with the active methylene compound in the alpha carbon. Okay, this one is the alpha carbon. Now there are some modifications in the Knoevenagel condensation. So previously we were using this as ester group. Okay, here the active methylene groups were the ester groups. Okay, ester compounds. See here, this is the ester group. Okay, these are the active methylene groups in Knoevenagel reaction. But instead of ester groups, now we will be using these acid groups. Okay, so the condensation of carbon acid compounds with aldehydes to afford alpha beta unsaturated compound is known as Dobner modification. That is, Dobner has modified the Knoevenagel condensation by using these carbon acid compounds instead of ester active methylene compounds. Okay, so you will get the same product over here. See, same thing will happen. You just replace this oxygen with this carbon acid compound, and substitution will occur in the alpha carbon. Okay, now here, since we have two acid compounds, okay, so acid compounds undergoes decomposition, that is, it will release carbon dioxide, so decarbonylation will take place to give the final product, that is alpha beta unsaturated acid. Okay, so look over here, you are getting this compound. Okay, you first hydrolyze it. After hydrolyzing you will get this one. Okay, after hydrolyzation you will get this, and then you heat this compound. So this compound is, you can consider this compound as beta keto acid. Okay, you can consider this one as beta keto acid. So beta keto acid undergoes decarbonylation, sorry, decarboxylation to give you the final product. Okay, so how this decarboxylation takes place? Sorry, not decarbonylation, it's decarboxylation. So you can see over here, this is the compound over here. Here O minus forms this one, this carbon oxygen double bond, and then this bond cleaves over here to give carbon carbon double bond, and this OH leaves. So what you are getting are alpha beta unsaturated acid. Okay. Now you use acrolein, okay, then malonic acid. What you will get is trans 2,4 pentane dienoic acid. Okay, this one is the Dobner modification. Similarly over here you can use this compound. Okay, so you see that this one is the active methylene group. Okay, so you replace this oxygen with this active methylene group over here. You see that this one is the alpha carbon. Okay, now they are hydrolyzing it, so this will undergo hydrolysis. So here this is the ester portion, so ester will hydrolyze to acid. Okay, so you will get the final product as alpha beta unsaturated acid. So we can see that in Knoevenagel condensation we are using this active methylene esters, okay, with aldehydes, and further hydrolysis followed by decarboxylation gives us the product which is same as that of the Dobner modification, and in Dobner modification we are using acid instead of ester. Okay, and this is the mechanism for the decarboxylation. See over here, this one is the beta keto acid. Okay, if you consider this one as ketone and this one is as acid, then this carbon is alpha carbon and this carbon is beta carbon. So beta keto acid, and beta keto acid, if you heat beta keto acid compounds, then it undergoes decarboxylation to give you alpha beta unsaturation. Okay, so this one is the Dobner modification. So now moving to Reformatsky reaction. In Reformatsky reaction, an alpha halo ester, usually an alpha bromo ester. Okay, this halo portion usually in Reformatsky reaction we take as bromo compound. So alpha halo ester reacts with carbonyl compound in the presence of zinc metal to produce beta hydroxy ester. The solvent most often used is benzene. The initial product is zinc alkoxide. So this is the zinc alkoxide, okay, which must be hydrolyzed to yield beta hydroxy ester. So what is alpha halo ester? This compound is known as alpha halo ester. See, this one is the ester group. So now this alpha carbon will bear one halogen atom. Okay, here it is bromine. So in alpha carbon one bromine atom is present, so it is alpha, in alpha position bromine atom, so alpha bromo, and this one is the ester group, that is ester compound, so alpha bromo ester. So this alpha bromo ester undergoes reaction with carbonyl compound in the presence of zinc metal. Okay, in the presence of zinc metal to give you beta hydroxy ester. See, this one is alpha carbon and this carbon will be the beta carbon. Okay, beta carbon. So the intermediate, that is the initial product here we get is the zinc alkoxide. Okay, and after hydrolysis of this zinc alkoxide we get the beta hydroxy ester. Look over here, this zinc hydroxide, this bond breaks, okay, to give you OH over here and here H. Okay, it is a similar kind of reaction, this hydrolysis. We have seen the Grignard reaction. Okay, so what Grignard reaction, in Grignard reaction it was OMgBr. Okay, this was the initial product of Grignard reagent. After hydrolysis we would get here alcohol. Okay, so what we have done is we have we break this bond in between oxygen and magnesium. In oxygen we give hydrogen and in magnesium we give OH. Similar kind. Okay, similar thing we will do in case of zinc alkoxide. In oxygen we will give hydrogen and in zinc we will give OH. Okay, same thing. So now we look into the mechanism. So here zinc will undergo oxidative addition. Okay, so what it will do is zinc will add over this carbon bromine bond. See over here, this carbon bromine bond, zinc is added in between carbon and bromine. And why it is known as oxidative addition? If you see the oxidation state of zinc, here the oxidation state of zinc is 0, but if you look into this product here, the oxidation state of zinc is plus 2. Okay, now if you see this carbon zinc bond, okay, zinc being electropositive, so the bonded pair will be over carbon atom. That is, you can make this as C minus Zn plus and then Br. Okay, actually here the oxidation state is not plus 2, it is rather between 1 and 2. Okay, because this bromine will have oxidation state minus 1, so zinc at least will have oxidation state plus 1. But this carbon is not fully carb anion. Okay, although it is more electronegative than zinc, so it will not take all of the bonded pair of all of the electrons of the bond and become a negative ion. It will not do this type of, what do you say, this kind of thing. This carbon atom will not do. That is, this carbon atom is electropositive. Oh, sorry, this carbon atom is electronegative and this zinc is electropositive, but these bonded electrons will move towards carbon atom more. But here this carbon cannot be like this carbon ion. Okay, it will have del minus and it will be del plus. Okay, like that of carbonyl. Okay, in carbonyl the oxygen atom cannot take though that pi bond electrons within itself. Okay, means we cannot write this carbonyl as O minus and carbon plus. This is just a canonical form. Okay, actually the carbonyl compound is like this. We are just writing the resonance form. This is a resonance form. This is a just a theoretical concept. Okay, so we will be able to understand. Similarly here also same thing is happening. This is that C minus and Zn plus, this is just a theoretical concept. Okay, actually this will be C del minus and Zn del plus. So because of this bromine atom, zinc will have at least plus 1 oxidation state, and because of this carbon, as since it has del minus charge, so the oxidation state of zinc cannot exceed 2. That is, the oxidation state of zinc will be in between 1 and 2. Okay, so that is why it is known as oxidative addition. Previously the oxidation state of zinc was 0, and now after addition in between the carbon and bromine bond, zinc will have oxidation in between 1 and 2. Okay, now this carbon will have del minus charge since zinc is electropositive. So this carbon becomes, previously see over here, okay, this carbon was the electrophilic center. Okay, if you see, bromine has, bromine is more electronegative than carbon. Okay, so previously it was C del plus and Br del minus, but now after the oxidative insertion of zinc, this carbon atoms changes its polarity to del minus. Now this one is the nucleophilic carbon, and now it will attack the electrophilic carbonyl carbon. Okay, so you will get this one. Now this O minus, okay, this one is O minus, and in reaction we have Zn Br, that is plus Zn Br. Okay, so oxygen and zinc will form a bond, means they will interact among themselves to form this alkoxide, and after this hydrolysis, this O minus, since you can see over here is that oxygen and Zn, okay, Zn will have del plus charge and oxygen will have del minus charge, so it has a tendency to take up the proton, so it will take the proton from water molecule and give you the final product, that is beta hydroxy ester. So you are getting beta hydroxy ester. Okay, so you see over here, these are few examples. This one is a ketone, so ketone, and this one is alpha halo ester. You are giving zinc in benzene solvent, followed by hydrolysis, you are getting beta hydroxy ester. Similarly, this one aldehyde, you will get the same product. Same product, you will get alpha hydroxy ester. Here you are getting hydrogen because of this aldehyde, dig hydrogen. Okay, so now this one is the ester molecule. What if we do further hydrolysis? So if further hydrolysis of these esters is done, then they produce beta hydroxy acid, which on heating forms alpha beta unsaturated acids. Okay, so now you see that this one is the, so this is your beta hydroxy acid. So if we further hydrolyze, so this ester portion, okay, if we further hydrolyze, then this ester portion will hydrolyze to acid. Okay, now this has become beta hydroxy acid. So if we heat this compound, so over here this has hydrogen. So if we heat this compound, then this hydrogen and this OH group leaves to give you alpha beta unsaturated acids. Okay, like this you will be getting alpha beta unsaturated acids. So if you hydrolyze esters, if you further hydrolyze ester, then you will get beta hydroxy acid, and if you heat that beta hydroxy acid, you will get alpha beta unsaturated acids. So over here you see that if you take benzaldehyde, then perform the this Reformatsky reaction, yeah, Reformatsky reaction, then we do hydrolysis followed by heating. Okay, here we are doing uh, hydrolysis to get beta hydroxy acid, and then we are heating, so we are getting this alpha beta unsaturated acid, that is here we are getting cinnamic acid. Now this cinnamic acid, if we treat it with lithium aluminum hydride, okay, if this cinnamic acid, if we treat it with lithium aluminum hydride, then because of this phenyl group, this carbon carbon double bond also gets reduced. So what you will be getting here, phenyl, then CH2, CH2, then instead of acid you will be getting primary alcohol. Okay, so lithium aluminum reduces acids to primary alcohols. Okay, and over here this unsaturation, this has become now carbon carbon single bond. Okay, now Claisen condensation. So esters containing alpha hydrogen undergo self condensation reaction. Okay, self condensation means two ester molecule will condense among themselves to give beta keto ester in presence of base such as sodium ethoxide. Okay, so here esters containing alpha hydrogen, okay, that is must, the ester must contain alpha hydrogen. So two ester molecules will condense among themselves in presence of a base sodium ethoxide to give you beta keto ester. So now let's look into the mechanism. So sodium ethoxide, that means here NaOET. So this OET minus and here Na plus. So this alkoxide base will abstract the proton, acidic proton. Okay, these alpha hydrogens are acidic in nature because of this carbonyl group, that is the ester group. So this alkoxy ion, okay, alkoxy base will abstract this proton to give you the enolate. So now this enolate will attack the second molecule of ester to give you this compound. Okay. So now look over here, this oxygen minus, this oxygen atom of the second group. Okay, this oxygen atom of the second ester group has negative charge over here. So what it will do is it will backfire its negative charge to make carbonyl, to make carbon carbon double bond, and now this carbon will be pentavalent, so it has to leave this alkoxy group to become tetravalent. Okay, so after backfiring this negative charge by the oxygen, this carbon will kick out this alkoxy group to again become tetravalent. Okay, to maintain its valency. So now what you are getting is beta keto ester. So this ester group, so this one is alpha carbon and this one is beta carbon. In beta carbon you see that this is a keto group. Okay, since here it is R2, that is an alkyl group here, so it is keto group, so beta keto ester. Okay, so now here you can see this, this mechanism is shown for the mixed Claisen condensation. I will be showing you what is mixed Claisen condensation. Okay, the original Claisen condensation reaction would be if R2 is CH2R1. Okay, so look over here, here the molecule, okay, this molecule have alpha halo, alpha hydrogen. Okay, here CH2R1 is bonded with the ester group, but in this compound it is R2. Okay, so if R2 is CH2R1, then this mechanism is that of Claisen condensation, but here it is R2, that means it is mixed Claisen condensation mechanism. Okay, I'll be showing what is mixed Claisen condensation. Okay, so mixed Claisen condensation is nothing but it is a crossed Claisen condensation. Okay, so here we are taking an ester enolate which is condensed with an ester that cannot form an enolate. That means in Claisen condensation both the esters were having alpha hydrogen, but in mixed Claisen condensation only one ester will have alpha hydrogen, that is enolate formation can be possible, and another ester will be devoid of alpha hydrogen, that means it will not contain any alpha hydrogen, so it cannot form enolate. That is the difference between normal Claisen and mixed Claisen. Okay, so nothing to worry. So if this R2 group, okay, have alpha hydrogens, then the mechanism is that of simple Claisen. If R2 do not contain any uh, if R2 do not contain any alpha hydrogen atom, then the mechanism is that of mixed Claisen. Okay, so now after nucleophilic attack, the aldol addition and the Claisen condensation differ. So you can see over here, it is like that of this aldol condensation only. Okay, what happens in aldol is we were taking any aldehyde or any ketone, that is any aldehyde or ketone which have alpha hydrogens. Okay, similarly, this alpha hydrogen containing carbonyl compounds we were treating it with base sodium hydroxide, then then enolate was forming, and then enolate was going and attacking the second carbonyl compound, and what we were getting is this one. Okay, I'm just drawing. Sorry, this O minus over here, then CH2, we were getting this one, that is beta alkoxy carbonyl compound. Similarly, here also we are getting beta alkoxy carbonyl compound. But the difference between aldol condensation and Claisen condensation is that in aldol condensation, this O minus ion now gets protonated to give you beta hydroxy carbonyl compounds. Okay, so in this aldol condensation, what you were getting is this one. Okay, what you are getting is this one. Okay, I am showing it, this one is for ketone. Okay, this one for ketone. So the beta alkoxy carbonyl compound, this one was O minus, so beta alkoxy carbonyl compounds now captures proton to become beta hydroxy carbonyl compound. But here this beta alkoxy carbonyl compound now backfires is negative charge and kick outs this alkoxy ion. So after nucleophilic attack, the aldol addition and Claisen condensation differ. So here is the difference. The Claisen condensation products, the Claisen in Claisen condensation, OR minus is kicked out from the intermediate, whereas in aldol condensation, the intermediate captures one proton. Okay, so in Claisen condensation, the negatively charged oxygen reforms carbon oxygen pi bond and eliminates OR group. Okay, so in Claisen condensation, alkoxide groups is eliminated out, whereas in aldol condensation, the alkoxy group captures this hydrogen, that is captures this proton to become beta hydroxy carbonyl compound. Okay, and here this OR gets and here this OR gets eliminated to give us beta ketone esters. Now let's let us look into these examples. So this ethyl acetate, okay, ethyl acetate has alpha hydrogens, so this will go Claisen condensation to give you ethyl acetoacetate. okay, and one alcohol molecule. So you just add this portion over here, okay, uh, this carbonyl portion in this alpha carbon, okay, since OR leaves, okay, in this mechanism OR leaves, so this OR, just a minute, so in this mechanism this OR leaves, so this OR you eliminate and the remaining portion you attach to the alpha carbon, you will get your final product. Similarly here, okay, this one was the second molecule of ethyl acetate, so you just add this portion, okay, you just eliminate this OR portion, okay, you eliminate this OR portion and you just add this portion to the alpha carbon. So you can see you are adding acyl group, so you are adding this group to the alpha carbon of the another molecule of ethyl acetate. Similarly this one, okay, this one is the alpha carbon, so you see over here is you are adding, you just break this bond, okay, you just break it over here, so this one is your OR and this one is your remaining portion. So this was your molecule, okay, and this was your alpha carbon, so this is your alpha carbon. So now you add this portion, okay, to the alpha carbon, you will get your beta keto ester in Claisen condensation. So now in mixed Claisen condensation or crossed Claisen condensation, so one ester will have alpha halogen, will have alpha hydrogen, okay, which will form ester enolate or ketone enolate, and another will be devoid of any alpha hydrogen, that is the ester cannot form an enolate. So let's look same mechanism, okay, so this compound is devoid of any alpha hydrogen, so this compound will only go nucleophilic addition, okay, like over this compound, this compound is devoid of any alpha hydrogen, so it will undergo only nucleophilic addition, okay, and the esters which cannot form enolate, that is the esters which are devoid of any alpha hydrogen, will eliminate alkoxy group, okay. So over here this compound does not contain any alpha hydrogen, so in the final product, as I was saying, you just eliminate this OR group, since in normal Claisen condensation both the ester groups were same, so no matter both the ester compounds were same, so you can eliminate alkoxy ion, that is OR minus ion, from either of the compound, okay, so no problem is there. But here you are getting to you are having two different ester groups, so from which compound you have to eliminate this OR minus ion, that is this alkoxy ion. So the esters which do not contain any alpha hydrogen, they will eliminate this alkoxy ion, okay. So you just eliminate this alkoxy ion from the esters which do not contain any alpha hydrogen, and the remaining portion you just add over the alpha carbon of the ester molecule which contains alpha hydrogen. Is that clear? So now let's look into this example. So this compound has alpha hydrogen. This compound, this ester group do not contain any alpha hydrogen. So you just eliminate this OR portion over here. Okay. You eliminate this OR portion, and this one is your OR portion, that is alkoxy portion. You eliminate this OR portion, and the remaining part you just go and add to this alpha carbon. So this one was your alpha carbon, and this is your addition part. Oh, sorry, this one. Oh, my mistake. Sorry, my bad. You just forget. Sorry. This compound contains alpha hydrogen. Sorry, this compound contains alpha hydrogen, and this compound does not contain alpha hydrogen. Sorry, I made a mistake. I'm really very sorry. So, first compound does not contain any alpha hydrogen, and second compound contains alpha hydrogen. Okay, so you just eliminate this alkoxy portion over here. Okay, so alpha carbon, what are alpha carbon? Alpha carbon are the compound, are the carbons which are adjacent to the carbonyl group. Okay, I made a mistake over here. Okay, so this one is the this one is the alpha carbon which is adjacent to the carbonyl group. So over here the second molecule contains alpha carbon, whereas the first molecule is devoid of any alpha hydrogen. The second molecule has alpha hydrogen, first molecule does not contain any alpha hydrogen. So you break the OR part over here, okay, and add this remaining portion to the alpha carbon. So this is your second molecule, and this is your additional part which came from the first molecule. Similarly, if we look over this example, so this acetophenone molecule contains alpha carbon, whereas this ethyl benzoate does not contain any alpha carbon. So alpha hydrogen is not present in ethyl benzoate, whereas alpha hydrogen is present in acetophenone. So you break over here, releasing the alkoxy group, and you just add this leftover portion to the alpha carbon. So you can see you are getting this 1,3-diphenyl propane, 1,3-dione and ethanol. Okay, so this portion over here is coming from this acetophenone. Okay, this is one is acetophenone, and this portion is coming from this ethyl benzoate part. Okay, now you look over here. This is, if you see, it has an active methylene group. Okay, so it has active methylene group. Since it contains active methylene group, so it can undergo Knoevenagel type condensation reaction. Okay, since, see here, why I am saying Knoevenagel type, because in Knoevenagel reaction we were using active methylene esters. Okay, we were using ester group, and that Doberman modified this one to acids. Okay, Doberman modified these esters to acid, but here we see that these are the ketones only. These groups are only ketones, so that's why I am saying it can undergo Knoevenagel type reaction, not particularly Knoevenagel condensation. It will undergo that kind of reaction. Since Knoevenagel contains this ester group, so, and here it is ketone group, so that's why I am saying it is Knoevenagel type. Okay, it can undergo since it contains an active methylene group. Now, intramolecular Claisen condensation, also known as Dickmann condensation reaction. Okay, the addition of a base to 1,6-diester causes the diester to undergo intramolecular condensation reaction, thereby forming a 5-membered ring beta keto ester. Okay, and intramolecular Claisen condensation is called Dickmann condensation. So here they are taking 1,6-diester and treating it with the same reagents. Okay, that is treating it with base, and you are getting this compound. Here intramolecular Claisen condensation reaction is taking place. Now you see that this portion, okay, now this contains alpha carbon and this also contains alpha carbon, but here this molecule is a symmetrical molecule. You can see over here, if you break this bond, then you see two carbon atoms, then the same ester group. Okay, so no matter what uh, no matter from what ester group, you can eliminate alkoxide ion, that is OR minus ion. Okay, if I break this alkoxide ion and attach this leftover portion to this alpha carbon, I will get the same product. Okay, if I choose this portion, okay, if I choose this ester group to eliminate the alkoxide ion and attach this leftover portion to this alpha carbon, then also I will get the same product. Okay, since it is a symmetrical diester compound. Similarly over here also, this is a symmetrical diester compound. You just break this one, you will get the same product. Okay, and now see here, you need not have to have 1,6 diester only. Okay, you just, for this intermolecular Claisen condensation, you need two ester group in the same molecule. Okay, you have to have two ester group in the same molecule. Here the chain length can be anything, but you need to form 5 membered or 6 membered. Okay, 5 membered or 6 membered beta keto ester, because 5 membered and 6 membered beta keto esters, or 5 membered or 6 membered ring, have the minimum ring strength as discussed in the earlier class. Okay, so this intermolecular Claisen condensation, so you have to have your carbonyl, this you have to have your ester group in such position so that you can get either 5 membered or 6 membered beta keto ester ring. Okay, that is a 5 membered or 6 membered ring product. Now moving to benzoin condensation. The benzoin condensation is a coupling reaction between two aldehydes that allows the preparation of alpha hydroxy ketones under catalytic influence of cyanide ions. Okay, so here cyanide ions is the nucleophile. Okay, here we are having alpha hydroxy ketone as the product. So let's now look into the reaction. We are taking this benzaldehyde and treating it with cyanide ions. Okay, and we are getting benzoin, that is alpha hydroxy. This one is alpha, so alpha hydroxy ketones. So now let's look into the mechanism. So cyanide ion will attack the electrophilic carbon and we will get cyanohydrin. Now this O minus will backfire. Okay, this O minus can backfire and this hydride could have went to another molecule, but this kind of reaction will not take place. That is, this one was type of Cannizzaro type. Okay, if this happens, then it will be a Cannizzaro type reaction, but this type of reaction does not happens over here. Okay, what happens is that this O minus takes up this proton, okay, and gives us a carbon ion. Okay, so Cannizzaro type reaction does not happen here. That is, this O minus, okay, does not backfires and gives this hydride transfer. This kind of thing does not happens here. What happens is this O minus takes up the proton, alpha protons, okay, take up this alpha proton to give carbon ion. Okay, now in your mind one question may be arising that it could have shown this Cannizzaro type reaction. Okay, because same thing is there. This O minus can backfire its electron to form carbon carbon double bond, then hydride transfer could have taken place. But why it is not happening? That is Cannizzaro type, this this type of reaction is not happening. Why? The simple reason is that, see, in Cannizzaro type reaction, okay, this one, you are getting this type of alkoxide, okay, where both hydrogen atoms or here any alkyl group was present. Okay, hydrogen atom or alkyl group. If you have taken this benzaldehyde, then it would be a hydrogen atom. If any other group, acetophenone, then it would have been a phenyl group. But here the what you are getting is cyanohydrin. Okay, this nitrile molecule, okay, this nitrile group. So now this, because of this nitrile group, this alpha hydrogens are becoming acidic in nature, whereas these alpha protons were not acidic in Cannizzaro reaction. Okay, in Cannizzaro reaction there were no such groups, that is cyanide group or any other electron withdrawing group. Okay, but here there is one electron withdrawing group. So because of this cyanide group, that is this nitrile group, the alpha hydrogens are becoming acidic in nature. So that is why this alkoxide ion, that is O minus, will take up this proton and give, it will give you a carbon ion. Okay, that is proton shift is occurring, 1 2 proton shift. Okay, now why is it 1 2? Since from this first carbon atom and this oxygen atom, so 1 2, that is this proton is shifting from one to the second carbon, that is 1 2 proton shift is taking place. Now this carbon ion will go and attack the second benzaldehyde molecule to give you this intermediate. Okay, and now you see that this O minus will take this proton from this hydroxy group. Okay, again proton shift is taking place. Now this oxygen will bear a negative charge. Now this oxygen will backfire its electron to make carbon-carbon, to make carbon-oxygen double bond, and this cyanide ion leaves. That is, after the reaction, cyanide ion is regenerated. That is why here the benzoate condensation is taking place under the catalytic influence of cyanide ions. That is catalytic. What do you mean by a catalyst? A catalyst is the substance which accelerates the rate of the reaction without being used up. The catalyst takes part in the reaction, but after the reaction it regenerates. So without being used, okay, used up. Okay. So here we are getting cyanide ion back, and what you are getting is alpha hydroxy ketone. Okay. So because of this cyanide, that is because of this nitrile, okay, Cannizzaro type reaction is not taking place, whereas Cannizzaro type reaction is not taking place. Instead of Cannizzaro there is proton shift. Okay, first proton shift, and then after forming this O minus there is the second proton shift. Okay, and you are getting, after the expulsion of cyanide ion, okay, after this expulsion of cyanide ion you are getting your final product, that is beta, sorry, alpha hydroxy ketone. Okay, alpha hydroxy ketone. Now benzoic acid rearrangement, that is, it is the modified intramolecular Cannizzaro reaction. Okay, now upon treatment with base sodium hydroxide, alpha diketones rearrange to give salts of alpha hydroxy acid. This process is called benzoic acid rearrangement. The reaction takes place with both aliphatic and aromatic diketones and alpha ketoaldehydes. So this is your uh, alpha diketone. Okay, that is, this compound is benzyl, benzil, benzyl. So how to get this benzyl compound? So Yeah. So the benjoin, okay, this compound, benjoin compound, this benjoin, okay. So this benjoin you take and oxidize with nitric acid. What you will get is benzyl, that is alpha alpha diketones, okay. This you will get benzyl, okay. You treat the benzoin product with nitric acid and you will get alpha alpha diketone, that is benzyl. So you are getting benzyl. So treat it with KOH and water in ethanol. So you will get your alpha hydroxy acid, that is salt of alpha hydroxy acid. So how the reaction is taking place? So this is your benzyl compound. This base will go and attack over the electrophilic carbon, okay. You will get this O minus. Now this O minus will backfire and there will be a shift of this alkyl group over the adjacent carbonyl carbon, okay. There will be a 1,2 alkyl shift, okay. So now this O minus, this oxygen will have a negative charge over here, so it will take the proton from the acid over here and thus it will give you alpha hydroxy acid salt, okay. Now the reaction of cyclic diketone leads to an interesting ring construction. So previously it was 6 membered, now you are getting a 5 membered ring. So how this is happening, okay. Same thing, it is because of that alkyl shift. So first it will, this base molecule will attack the carbonyl group. So you are getting O minus over here, okay, like this. Now this O minus will backfire its electron. Now if you look over this carbon atom, okay, this carbon atom is now pentavalent. So it has to maintain its tetravalency. So what it will do is it will migrate, so not this carbon, it will make one of its bond migrate to the adjacent carbonyl carbon, okay. So if this O minus makes double bond over here, then it has two bonds, two alkyl bonds, that is this alkyl bond and over this alkyl bond. So this cannot break, so it will break this alkyl bond and it will attack over here. So what you will get is now a 5 membered ring, okay. And over here this is your O minus and this carbon is now in free chain. So this carbon is this one, O minus, sorry, this one was OH, okay, my mistake, I have not drawn this one, this one was OH. So now this is carbonyl and this is O minus H plus, that is acidic part, okay. So now you see over here is that this was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon, okay. So now this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you see that if you join the bonds between 1 and 5, okay, I'm joining the bonds between this 1 and 5, 1 and 5 carbon. So now you are getting this bond between 1 and 5 carbon and bond between 5 and 6 is broken, okay. That is, if I erase this one, so now you see bond between 5 and 6 is broken, so you are getting this 5 membered ring along with this acidic group, that is the sixth carbon is now free, okay. Now this sixth carbon bears a acid group, so this O minus will take up this proton and this one will become carboxylate ion and thus you will get this salts of alpha hydroxy acid. Okay. Now Beckmann rearrangement. The acid catalyzed conversion of ketoxide to N-substituted amide is known as Beckmann rearrangement. The reaction is catalyzed by acidic reagents. So these are the acidic reagents which will catalyze the reaction. So now what is ketoxide? So you treat any carbonyl compound, that is here you have to treat for ketoxide. Okay, we have to treat keto compound with hydroxylamine. What you will get? An oxide. Since it is a keto group, so it will be a keto oxide. So recall the addition reaction. Okay, that is the nucleophilic addition reaction with ammonia derivatives. Okay, this is the nucleophilic addition reaction of carbonyl compounds with ammonia derivative, that is with hydroxylamine. So you are getting here oxide. So here you are getting this oxide. Now this ketoxide further treatment with any acidic reagent will give you N substituted amide. So what is amide? Amide is CONH2. This is the amide group. Now if you remove one hydrogen atom, okay, so if you remove one hydrogen atom from the nitrogen with any alkyl group, then it is known as N substituted amides. Okay, so now let's look on the reaction. Okay, so the reaction proceeds by the migration of a group from carbon to electron deficient nitrogen. Okay, so first this oxide, here you are using acid, so let us depict this acid with any electrophile. Okay, so this OH from oxide, this oxygen will take up the electrophile. If you use any this HCl, then E plus will be H plus. Okay, and rest other have different electrophiles. Okay, rest these groups P2O5, PCl5, these groups have different electrophiles, so we are using E plus over here. Okay, so now this oxygen takes up the electrophile and this oxygen becomes positive charge, develops a positive charge. So the reaction proceeds by the migration of a group from carbon to electron deficient nitrogen. Okay, so why is it termed as electron deficient nitrogen? Now see over here, okay, that oxygen is more electronegative than nitrogen. Now this oxygen bears a positive charge, so it will be much more electronegative than nitrogen. Means since oxygen develops an extra positive charge, so its electronegativity increases much more as that of the previous electronegative value. Okay, now oxygen has positive charge, so it will become much more electronegative, leaving this nitrogen electron deficient. That is, now it will withdraw electron between that nitrogen and oxygen bond in much more amount as compared to the oxime part. Okay, in oxime oxygen was neutral, but in here in this one oxygen develops a positive charge, so it will withdraw electron from the nitrogen oxygen bond in more quantity. Okay, so the nitrogen will become electron deficient. So here it is said that the nitrogen is electron deficient. The reaction proceeds by the migration of a group from carbon to electron deficient nitrogen. Okay, the migration of the group not depends on migrational activity but on the orientation of the group in relation to the OH group. Okay, it is found that the migrating group is always anti, that is trans to the hydroxyl group. Now Since this nitrogen is electron deficient, so the reaction will proceed by the migration of any alkyl group, okay, from this carbon. Okay, so now which group will migrate, that does not depend on the migrational activity. Okay, in Baeyer-Villiger oxidation reaction, I have told about you the migrational aptitude, but here this migrational aptitude will not be taken into consideration. What we will take is the orientation of the group relative to the OH group, that is the anti-orientation, trans orientation. So in this one we can see that R1 is anti. Okay, if you consider this double bond, so here OH and here it is R1, so R1 is anti to OH. So now R1 will migrate over the nitrogen, and this nitrogen oxygen bond will break to neutralize the positive charge on oxygen. So HOE is eliminated out. So now what we have is this nitrile. Okay, now nitrogen is more electronegative than carbon, so it can take the electron, this just a minute. Okay, sorry, not this one. See, this R is migrated over this nitrogen, so we are getting this carbocation. Okay, since R is taking this carbon R1 bond and migrating over the nitrogen, so this carbon is becoming positive charge, that is carbocation. This carbon is becoming carbocation intermediate. So nitrogen has lone pair of electrons, so it can stabilize this carbocation through resonance. Okay, so nitrogen will now stabilize this carbocation through resonance, so you are getting this one. Now this carbocation can be attacked by water molecule, so this carbocation is attacked by water molecule, so you are getting this one. Okay, so this oxygen in the water, from the water molecule, bears a positive charge, and so it will eliminate this proton to neutralize this positive charge, so you are getting this one. Now this can tautomerize to the amide group. So what it will do is oxygen will form a double bond over here, and this carbon nitrogen double bond will now become carbon nitrogen single bond, and nitrogen will have a negative charge, and this negative charge will take up the proton. Okay, so you will get an amide over here. Okay, that is N substituted amide. So now moving on to Schmidt reaction. So this is the reaction between a carbonyl compound and hydrazoic acid. So over here it is hydrazoic acid. Okay, that is HN3. Okay, hydrazoic acid. In the presence of strong acid, that is strong concentrated acid. Okay, so aldehyde gives a mixture of cyanide and formyl derivatives of primary amines, whereas ketone gives amides. Okay, so if you look over here, this is a carbonyl group and this one is the hydrazoic acid. So since this is a ketone, so you will end up with amide. Okay, here you will end up with H substituted amide. So let us look over here. This, if you take aldehyde and hydrazoic acid in presence of a strong concentrated acid H2SO4, you will get aldehyde, you will get cyanide and formyl derivatives of primary amines. So you are getting a cyanide over here and formal derivatives of primary amine. Formal derivatives of primary amines means, just a minute. Here you will be getting this one. This is this one is formaldehyde. So you replace this hydrogen, one hydrogen of formaldehyde, with nitrogen group. That is, here you are replacing this with NH2 group or NHR group. Okay, you replace this hydrogen with NH2 or NHR group, then you will have a formal derivative of primary amines. Okay, that is primary amine group. You replace this hydrogen with any primary amine group, then you will get formal derivative of primary amine. Whereas ketone, you will end up with always amide. So now this ketone, you are getting amide. So let us look into the mechanism part. So this ketone will take a proton, that is hydration of this oxygen of the carbonyl group. So this carbon will become positive in nature. Okay, electrophilic carbon. Now this hydrazoic acid, okay, it has resonance structure like this. This N minus can delocalize over this nitrogen single bond, and this bond can open up to give a resonance structure like this. Okay, so these two are the canonical structures. Okay, these two are the resonance form of hydrazoic acid. So we are using this resonance structure for the reaction. Okay, these two are the resonance structure for hydrazoic acid. So here nitrogen, it will make nitrogen triple bond, and this bond will go and attack over here, or you can show this N minus attacks over here. Okay, any of it you can show. Okay, here you have to show this delocalization and then attack, and you from this one you can directly attack over here. So what you are getting is this compound. Now this compound can easily lose this N2 molecule. This is a good living group. Similarly, if you see over here in Beckmann rearrangement, this compound, okay, this if water molecule it is, or if any other molecule, then it is a very good living group. Okay, it's a very good living group. So the migration of R1 from this carbon to nitrogen takes place, and this group easily leave. Okay, this group easily gets eliminated. Similarly over here, this nitrogen molecule, it is very abundant in nature. Okay, this nitrogen gas. Okay, now what will happen is that uh, okay, just a minute. Now what will happen, this one will form this carbon nitrogen double bond. Okay, this time. Okay, it's just a simple reaction of that, including aldehyde, including addition of carbonyl compounds with ammonia derivatives, that type of reaction. Okay, you just remove this carbon oxygen double bond. Okay, carbon oxygen double bond with any nitrogen derivatives. Okay, here R, sorry, it will be not R, actually it will be any Z. Okay, it will be Z. Now this Z is this N2 group. Okay, this Z over here is this N2 group. Okay, it's just the same reaction. Okay, addition reaction of ammonia derivatives. Here Z is this N2 group. Now you see that this nitrogen group, this N2 molecule, that is this nitrogen gas, is a very good living group and it is a very neutral species. If it's this nitrogen molecule is very sorry, this nitrogen molecule, okay, is a very stable species and it does not reacts, okay. But over here if we see that this nitrogen has positive charge, so it can neutralize its positive charge by taking this bond, okay. So it may act as a so it acts as a very good leaving group. This nitrogen charge, this nitrogen atom neutralizes its charge by taking this bond, okay, and thus it becomes neutral N2, neutral nitrogen gas, okay. And how does this happens is that this carbon, okay, now this carbon has two alkyl groups. Now one of the alkyl group migrates over this nitrogen and this N2 molecule eliminates out, okay. So you are getting RCN, C double bond N and R, and here this carbon atom bears a positive charge. Now this nitrogen molecule has lone pair of electrons, so it can neutralize this carbocation just as that you have seen in the Beckmann rearrangement, okay. Now this carbocation can be attacked with water molecule and thus after tautomization you will get this amide, that is N substituted amide, okay. So from ketone you are getting N substituted amide. Now if we look over this uh, formaldehyde, okay, so here you can see it has one hydrogen atom. So this hydrogen atom can get migrated over this nitrogen atom, so you will get this cyanide, okay. And if this R groups get migrated, then you will get formal derivatives of primary amines, okay. Now this migration follows the same or same orient. This migration of alkyl groups follow the same order. That means follows the same anti-migration. Okay. Here it is shown. Here the orientation, they are not in this mechanism. They are not considering the orientation. Okay. This orientation is not shown. Just the migration is shown. But actually, this migration will take via anti-orientation, okay. So actually this N2 molecule will get eliminated when this R group gets migrated over this nitrogen. Actually this R group should have migrated, okay, but in this mechanism they are showing R prime, they are not considering the anti-migration, okay. So this R group should be migrated over this nitrogen. So if you look over here, this ketone has two alkyl groups, okay. So if any of the alkyl groups get migrates, you will get N substituted amide. But if you look over this formaldehyde, okay, so if you look over this aldehyde, it has two different groups over here. Here it is one hydrogen group and here alkyl group. So based upon the orientation, you will get your cyanide product or formal derivatives, okay. So this reaction, same thing, same mechanism, okay. Here one group will get migrated, that is here one alkyl group will get migrated. So you do this one and check whether you are able to do this one or not That means whether this reaction is clear to you or not. Okay, so you have to do this one. You just check whether you can do this one or not. Now open near oxidation. The oxidation of secondary alcohols to ketones by heating them with specific reagent, that is here tert butyl oxide aluminium in presence of a ketone, and the ketone is usually acetone. Okay, so oxidation of secondary alcohols. Okay, here oxidation of secondary alcohols to ketones by heating with specific reagent in presence of another ketone, that is usually acetone. Here secondary alcohol is oxidized to ketone, whereas the ketone, that is the acetone, is reduced to secondary alcohol. Primary alcohols may also be oxidized to aldehydes if ketones is replaced by a better hydrogen acceptor. Okay, that is parabenzoquinone. So first we are taking this secondary alcohol in presence of a ketone, that is acetone, and we are using that specific reagent, that is aluminium tert butyl oxide. Now what we are getting is secondary alcohol is oxidized to a ketone, and the ketone we are taking, that is the acetone, is reduced to secondary alcohol, that is acetone is reduced to isopropyl alcohol. Okay, so this is the mechanism how this works. This oxygen, this aluminium tert butyl oxide, okay, OR and 1 OR. Okay, this oxygen will coordinate with aluminium. Now aluminium is Lewis acid, so it can make one coordination with any other Lewis base. Here OH is acting as Lewis base, but when this carbonyl compound gets coordinated, then it exceeds the aluminium's valency, so one OR will eliminate. So in this intermediate you are seeing that aluminium has 2 OR. Okay, now what will happen is that this this aluminium oxygen bond will break and form this carbon oxygen double bond, and one hydride transfer will take place to this carbonyl carbon, and this carbon oxygen double bond will become carbon oxygen single bond, and one oxygen aluminium bond will form, which after hydrolysis will break. Okay, thus you will be getting from this compound, that is from the secondary alcohol, you are getting this ketone, whereas from this ketone, okay, you are getting a secondary alcohol. So this ketone takes up the oxygen aluminium bond, sorry, this secondary alcohol takes up the oxygen aluminium bond to form this ketone, and this eliminates one hydride, and the eliminated hydride will attack the ketone, that is here acetone, thus reducing the acetone to isopropyl alcohol. Okay, so if we take 1 degree alcohol, that is primary alcohol, so we have to replace this acetone to a better hydrogen acceptor, that is hydride acceptor group. So here we are using parabenzoquinone. Okay, it is a better hydrogen hydride acceptor compound. Okay, here this hydride transfer taking place, so this parabenzoquinone will accept this hydride much more efficiently from primary alcohols as compared to acetone. So this 1 degree alcohol, that is primary alcohol, is oxidized to aldehyde, and this quinone is reduced to quinol. Okay, now the uniqueness of open air oxidation lies in the fact that it is selectively oxidized hydroxy group, which means that if compound besides hydroxy group has some other oxidizable functionality, the latter will remain unaffected under this condition. So you can see over here that it has the secondary alcohol and one unsaturation. So it selectively oxidizes hydroxy group. Okay, this aluminium tert butyl oxide. So the unsaturation remains unaffected, whereas this Secondary alcohol is oxidized to ketone. Now moving on to polymerization reaction. So first, polymers for formaldehyde. So on distilling formaldehyde with a small quantity of dilute sulfuric acid, this trioxane is formed. Okay, so this is trioxane. So you distill formaldehyde with a small quantity of dilute sulfuric acid. Okay, here it is dilute sulfuric acid. So this trioxane is formed. So this cyclic polymer does not show reducing character with Tollens reagent. Okay, so trioxane or trioxymethylene is formed on distilling formaldehyde, and the polymer formed does not show any reducing character with Tollens reagent. Now second one is paraformaldehyde. So when a concentrated aqueous solution of formaldehyde is evaporated to dryness, a long linear polymer is obtained, which is called paraformaldehyde. Okay. So concentrated solution, aqueous solution, you take, okay, and evaporate it to dryness. So what you will get, a long linear chain of paraformaldehyde, and this chain, this n number, okay, the chain length may vary from 6 to 50 carbon atoms. Okay, this one, this carbon content, okay, that is the chain length may vary from 6 to 50. And one remarkable property of this paraformaldehyde is that it show reducing character with Tollens, failing, etc. Okay, so this trioxane does not show any reducing character with Tollens reagent, but this paraformaldehyde shows reducing character. So in question it may be asked that among the following, which polymer of formaldehyde shows reducing character. Okay, so this polymer, that is paraformaldehyde, shows reducing character. Okay, so on heating paraformaldehyde, formaldehyde is regenerated. So if you heat this polymer, okay, then you will get your formaldehyde back. Okay, hence formaldehyde is transported in the form of paraformaldehyde. So this formaldehyde is transported in the form of paraformaldehyde. Also, when paraformaldehyde is heated in a sealed tube at about 115 degrees Celsius, then trioxane is formed. So from this paraformaldehyde, you can get back your formaldehyde, and also you can get this trioxane if you heat this paraformaldehyde at 115 degrees Celsius in a sealed tube. Okay. Now, polyoxymethylene. When dilute sulfuric acid is added into cold aqueous solution of formaldehyde, a white insoluble solid is formed, which is called polyoxymethylene. This is also a linear polymer. In this case, the chain length is longer than in paraformaldehyde. So you have to take this aqueous cold solution of paraformaldehyde. Okay, and if you take this aqueous cold solution, then you will get this. In dilute sulfuric acid, if you take this aqueous cold solution, then you will get a white insoluble solid, which is known as polyoxymethylene. And here this chain length, okay, previously for paraformaldehyde the chain length was 6 to 50 carbon atoms, but here the chain length is more than 100 carbon atoms. That is, for polyoxymethylene compound the chain length is greater than 100 carbon atom. Next is formation of formose. So on treating with formaldehyde with dilute barium hydroxide, a mixture of several sugars, that is monosaccharide, is formed, which is called formose. So till now we were uh, reacting this formaldehyde in acids, okay, but now we are treating this formaldehyde with a base, that is here barium hydroxide. So we will get a mixture of several monosaccharides, which is called formose. Okay, so above reaction resembles aldol condensation, although formaldehyde does not have alpha hydrogen. So here is the reaction, you are getting this formose. Okay, This mechanism you don't have to worry. I'm just showing you this mechanism, and this is the structure of formose. Okay. Now moving to polymers of acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde when treated with hydrogen chloride, that is HCl, at 0 degrees Celsius forms a solid tetramer called metaldehyde. However, if temperature is not controlled, a trimer called paraaldehyde is formed, which is liquid. So if you treat acetaldehyde at 0 degrees Celsius with HCl gas, then you will get a solid, which is metaldehyde. But if you do not maintain the temperature, okay, if you increase the temperature, if you are doing the reaction, okay, if you are treating with acetaldehyde with HCl gas in room temperature or above room temperature, okay, or just if you are not maintaining that 0 degree centigrade temperature, then you are getting a liquid paraaldehyde. Okay, and this is the liquid. Okay, this is a trimer. Okay, this paraaldehyde is a trimer, whereas if you treat acetaldehyde at 0 degrees Celsius with HCl, then you will get a tetramer called metaldehyde. So this paraaldehyde has these properties. Okay, it is a cyclic polymer having pleasant smell, and it is hypotonic compound, that is sleep inducing drug. Whereas this metaldehyde, this is the structure of metaldehyde. So it is crystalline compound, cyclic polymer, and used as solid fuel, or it is used for killing snails. Okay. Now, both the polymers of acetaldehyde get depolymerized on heating with dilute sulfuric acid, and thus they act as source of acetaldehyde reactions in acid medium. So, if you want to take if you want to react acetaldehyde, okay, in a reaction vessel, you can take this paraaldehyde or metaldehyde liquid. They will act as a source in acidic medium, as this polymers get depolymerized on heating with dilute sulfuric acid. Okay, these polymers get depolymerized, so thus they can be they behave as acetaldehyde source. Okay, so all of so these reactions of aldehydes and ketones is completed. If you have any doubt regarding the reactions or any question, then you can let me know in the comments below. I hope every reaction is clear to you, and if you are having doubt, please go through the video, and still if the doubt persists, then you can ask me in the comments below. So in the next class we will be solving some MCQs problem, so you will have a better grip on the subject. Okay, and we'll be discussing some entrance questions also over there. So before solving those questions, I hope, yeah, you have clear. I hope you have read all these reactions, and you know in what reaction, what kind of conditions, and what reagents are used along the substrates. Then it will be very easy for you to solve the questions. Okay. So before solving questions, you just read this carefully, go through the video lectures carefully, and make your doubts clear, and then you go for the questions and solve them. Okay, so this portion is finished, that is the reactions for aldehyde and ketones, and all the topics for aldehydes and ketones are finished. So now you just go through these portions, and if you have any doubt, then let me know in the comments below. Okay, so thank you and have a good day.